That's beautiful.
That's what she said.
That's so big. What's
That's
this
what she
for?
said.
You don't need this. That's beautiful.
That's what she said.
That's so big. What's
That's
this
what she
for?
said.
You don't need this.
Boom, and we're back, guys. So we just unloaded the brand new motor for the all-wheel drive Charger build, and this thing is looking freaking amazing. Holy crap. So this, for context, is a fully built 392 base block BGE that's got a bunch of work done to it. This is all set up by Modern Muscle Extreme, MMX. Byron over there really hooked me up. Worked with him a lot to get the all-wheel drive oil pan and everything set up for this, along with the actual internals and so forth. So I'll go into detail here in just a second on what that is and what the plan is for this engine and getting it all together. So what we went with here is, again, a 392 base block. I wanted to do that over a 6.2, mostly because of cost and what you can do with these specific blocks compared to the 6.2. The other big thing is the oil pan, which I'll get into. But regardless, starting with the engine, it is a probably 18 manufacturer BGE. BGE is the big gas engine redo that they did around that time for the trucks and ultimately went into the cars. They redesigned a lot of the different aspects of the block, coolant chambers, so on and so forth. Way stronger, just absolutely fantastic updates for the Hemis. Gen 3s across the board. So that's the base. Then we've got a full stroke and bore to 422. That's the only, this is the only block that'll let you do that. 422 to get to the power goal, which we wanted to be about 1500 horsepower. And so it's got a full billet, rotating assembly, all rated for again about 1500 horsepower, O-ring head gaskets, and then we've got fully so this is obviously a long block. We got fully ported and machined upper head assemblies and all the parts in it. For the most part, it's demoned. as well as we've got Demon valve covers on the top of it. But most of the other parts here that you see are Demons, and the actual heads here we can use either Hellcat or 5764 parts. So it's really cool the way these heads are made by MMX to be able to do that and set up. So on the front, nothing too crazy. It's got all brand new timing cover assemblies, water pump, and so forth from a 5.7, 6.4, with the exception of the various accessory wheels. These are all set up for MMX's 8-rib pulley setup, along with a beautiful ATI damper. And then obviously their accessories that were on here, AC compressor, alternator, I'll show you guys, are already set up for their 8-rib kit as well. And we'll get into why it's an 8-rib kit, not a 10-rib kit, and obviously more ribs than the stock 6-rib that would come on a 392 or a 5.7. Then the oil pan, and if we go around to the back, we haven't put on any of our other stuff yet, just got it sitting here on the engine cradle, so nothing really different here, but again, fully balanced crank kit for this 422. All right, so the oil pan is the big part of this. We'll have some more pictures of it, but this is the original oil pan out of the all-wheel drive 5.7, bolts straight up to the BGE block. Got a brand new gasket and everything. The cool part is, like I said, on 392 5.7, the all-wheel drive oil pan fits fine as long as you keep with that same front assembly, and that's really the reason why we didn't want to go with the Hellcat on this build. The Hellcat block and front timing cover and accessories, again, it's kind of cost prohibitive since I already had a bunch of this stuff, but the main issue is the oil pan I believe comes out a little bit further, because the 5.7 392 stuff is actually further out than it is on the Hellcat. The accessories and all that stuff is closer in, and so there's some additional distance that would have to be made up, and I will show you guys some pictures that Byron sent me when we were getting this all mocked up. And as you can see, the actual oil pan is just too far off, and we thought about building some kind of adapter or cover for that, and it really just didn't make a lot of sense. So it was just not really possible to run the Hellcat assemblies on the front with the all-wheel drive oil pan, and so that's the primary reason why we just didn't go with the Hellcat kind of stuff. And again, it's not really a big deal because I'm a much bigger fan of what you can do with the 392 and the parts available with the 5.7 platform. So, but what the downside of that is with regards to the pulleys. So the ideal case is like on the Hellcat and a lot of other cars, GT500 for instance, you'll run a 10 rib to be able to make sure you've got plenty of surface area to prevent slip for a supercharger build. There is not a kit for this engine set up 392 for 10 rib, just 8 rib, and you can't really get away with running it any other way with the 10 rib. So 8 rib is really all that we can do, and so that means we're sacrificing some friction and some surface area with the 8 rib setup, and so that's going to kind of play into how we load it all up and try and get that power out of it. It's just not super ideal, so that may ultimately be the upper cap for what we can do with this build, since we want it to be a supercharger rather than a turbo. But, you know, there's still things that we can do down the line. But this 8-rib kit is really the best that we can do with this platform and the all-wheel drive, trying to keep with that supercharger. So that's why we now have the 8-rib but not a 10-rib. When it comes to the blower itself, we're still planning on throwing on one of the new Gen 5 6 Whipples. Right now we have a Gen 5 3-liter, but we are thinking about going to a brand new Gen 6 3.8 liter. Those are designed right now just for the Hellcat motors, and obviously the snout and so forth are set up for the Hellcat as well, but there's a couple of tricks you can do to actually get them out so that we could run the 8 rib on it. Again, the problem is it's an 8 rib, but it's a bigger blower, higher efficiency, so there could be some benefits with going down that route. So anyway, so that's the main reason with the pulley and the oil pan and everything like that, why we had to build it the way that we did with MMX. Again, shout out to Byron over there. He did a fantastic job getting this thing built up and working with me, getting me some pictures and so forth. So I'm really, really happy to have worked with him. And for reference, he was the individual that also worked with Weston Chaplin on his all-wheel drive Charger, which we didn't really get to hear much about. But regardless, same company, same individual. So excited to work with him. This side you can see a little bit better. This is where the all-wheel drive output shaft would be with the disconnect. That disconnect we're going to be end up changing here. I'll get into that in a little while. But this is the other side of the all-wheel drive oil pan, and obviously AC condenser. What we're lacking right now in terms of parts to be able to get this thing all set up is really just the headers. We're having some custom-made headers from ARH, American Racing Headers, just for the all-wheel drive setup, since it's got to sneak around the differential on the other side. Long tubes, all set up, cats, and all 3-inch, etc., into the collectors. So really excited to work with that. I think we're about like maybe 8 weeks away from getting those. Then they're being sent out to ceramic coating. So in the meantime, we're going to get everything else bolted onto this engine, and then kind of resting in the cradle, ready for those exhaust headers. So that's the general plan there. So now that we got the engine, we're going to go ahead and get it prepped to actually load onto the subframe that we've been working on. The issue that I stumbled upon the other day or so was actually about these BMR engine mounts. So we got them to fit and everything in the last episode, but I'm concerned about the actual durometer, the stiffness of this urethane puck. Talked with a few people, and it seems like the BMR engine mounts are really just too stiff, that in terms of driving experience for a street strip kind of car, that it's just a little too aggressive. So I think we're going to forego using these mounts. We've got the stock mounts still, and I just bought another upgraded engine mount. We'll see how that one works out. I think so these are about 95 a durometer. For reference, we've got a new one coming in that'll be about 70. A little bit more robust mount than that as well. So we're probably going to take those guys off, and once this is all set up, we'll transfer the parts over and we'll be able to get this thing into the cradle, but we're kind of waiting on that part right now. Beyond that, once we're ready with the engine, the front differential is going to get bolted on. Obviously the flex plate, torque converter, spacer, all that kind of stuff we've got set up as well. All these parts here on this box are all pretty much to get it set up for the front cradle, so we'll be pushing along there. Once we got the engine on and the front drive system all set up, we'll be attaching on our beautiful Paramount NAG1 or WA580, I believe. 5-speed transmission. Again, this one's been fully built for over 1,000 horsepower, along with our Borg Warner transfer case. And then we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes to get an updated front drive shaft created, so we'll show you guys that here in an episode or two. But otherwise, we're getting really close to getting this guy onto the cradle and ultimately into the car, so that we can get the rest of the build underway. We've been waiting for quite a while on this one, but really, really excited to have this beautiful MMX 422 long block, and soon will be capped with a beautiful Whipple. Truly, truly an amazing looking engine. Really excited to be able to put this in there. So, all right, so that's I think quite a bit of an introduction. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing set up here now. Probably take off these old mounts, get this thing taken up in the air, and as much as we can bolt it on, get some new engine mounts on, or at least the old ones for right now, and into the cradle so we can start attaching all of these other parts. Let's do it.